Hello, welcome to Ghost Prime Transformers Reviews. So, in my hand right here, I have the very first Kingdom figure to be released is Core Class War for Cybertron Kingdom Optimus Prime. Now, this is a new size class that is kind of akin to the Legends class of figures that we've seen in the past. Although he is much more articulated and very detailed. And so I could kind of see why they would do it. He's about a $10 price point. Maybe they're going to go with a full line of these. I'm not really sure. They just announced and had a pre-order Megatron and Starscream. So those will be coming in this core class as well. And we'll see how far they take it. I mean, you know, it's just basically Legends. Now has much more articulation and posability than the past Legends, but not quite up to the deluxe size. Of course, he is very tiny. So that's why this review is going to be very quick. I also have a lot of reviews to get through. So without any further ado, let's get to the review. All right, first and foremost, we'll start out with the packaging. Comes in a blister card with the Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy logo at the bottom there, and it has some of the rock formations here. And getting in closer a little bit here, we can see Optimus Prime wielding his gun and his name. And then on the back, you see him in his robot mode, alt mode, not really much else. Some different legal information in a bunch of different languages. Not too much. It does say right here, it says War for Cybertron K1, so which stands for Kingdom 1. And that's it for the packaging. Inside the packaging, we do get a look at the color scheme for the War for Cybertron Kingdom instruction sheets, which is a green on black and gray. Otherwise, very clear instructions, much like we have seen with both Siege and Earthrise. Very clear, very easy to read. Both sides. In the package, you do get Optimus Prime's classic weapon, his gun here. Now, what's interesting about this is that this here peg is a dual peg, and this actually is a 5mm port. So a larger scale transformer can actually hold onto his miniature little Optimus Prime gun. Also, one more thing to point out, the gun is compatible with the blast effects from the previous series. And of course, you get Optimus Prime himself packaged in robot mode, just like this. So let's get in close at this detail here. So looking closely at this guy, you can see he's got a real nice head sculpt. He's got some really nice sculpted detail along the silver piece of the abdomen and the grill there. The legs actually look very much like the Earthrise legs. You see tires. He has peg holes on either side of his hands there, which I'm not 100% sure what that's for, because nothing pegs in there. He's got this little backpack piece that sticks off on a flap that goes over the head. His legs here are quite hollow. But let's see if I get real close on that head, speaking of the head. It looks like a pretty decent head sculpt for an Optimus Prime figure. And the Autobot logo on the shoulder. And moving in, he has this little peg right here that you peg into his hand. And there he is, armed up. So for articulation, start out with right here. He's got full leg in the front, full kick. Actually, his backpack doesn't really impede the legs going all the way back. He has no waist articulation, no real thigh swivel besides what's available for that ball joint. But he does have a ball joint in the knee, so you could kind of turn it with the knee like this, but you can't get the thigh to turn with it. So take that as it will. Nothing on the feet at all. The feet are solid. He does not have any rockers. It is, as you can see, it is kind of at an angle. His foot is kind of at an angle, so he does have a little bit of an A pose when you actually put him down. But he has a little over 90 at the knee there. Of course, you can see here 90 at the elbow. He does have sort of the swivel at the bicep, but that's also due to the joint. It just happens to be a short arm, so it kind of works as both. His fists here go in a bit. They don't swivel. They go in due to transformation, and his shoulder goes all the way around. His head is not on a ball joint. It is on a mushroom peg, so it just turns 360. And you can kind of get a back pose of the shoulder as well. And you can also do somewhat of an ab crunch. This is due to transformation. It's not really official, like an official joint, but you actually can get him to do it. So you could definitely pose him with a little bit of a, a little bit of an action pose here. So maybe if I can get him to stand up. Hold the gun so it stands up. I don't know, I'll have to play with it, but you can get some action poses out of him. All right, first let's take a look at him compared next to Hubcap. As you can see, he comes to about Hubcap's shoulder, so he is much smaller than this. Kind of all the way around, so you kind of get an idea of just the size of this guy. Next, let's take a look at him next to Brawn, an older legend. I forget if he's from the Combiner Wars or Titan's Return line, but somewhere around there. And so as you can see, he has a ton more detail on him than these previous legend-sized figures. He also has a better shape. He is much more of a heroic shape where he is very blocky, and I don't like to say it because I actually really like this figure, but not as cheap looking, for lack of a better word. And here he is with an older, I believe this is Reveal the Shield, Legends Class Prime. So he is much larger than the Legends Class. But still has a lot of detail. Looks like Optimus Prime. Much more posability on this guy than this guy. He doesn't even have knees. Moving back a little further, here we go. Here he is next to the Spy Changer, I believe they were called, if I remember correctly, Scourge from 2001. And going even smaller, there he is next to the world's smallest Optimus Prime. I'm moving the camera back for this next one. Here he is next to Generation 1 Optimus Prime. So as you can see, he comes barely up to his waist. Last but not least, Earthrise Optimus Prime. Now, this is actually the figure that, let me move him back, get him in camera here. So this is actually the figure that this one is most designed after. He actually retains a lot of the design elements, like the legs have almost exactly the same tooling design. And you can see a lot of the same detailing in the thighs, the waist, and even up until the detailing up in here, these two little lines here, and the way the grill is done. They actually look very, very similar. So that's what leads me to wonder if there's actually a larger scale coming out that will scale with these figures. So you could display them fighting a larger character. I don't know. Again, time will tell. All right, moving back real close for transformation. First thing we want to do is remove the weapon, of course, and take his fists and move them just directly in like that. And then take his legs, and there's these pegs on either side here. You just kind of press them together, just like that. And you can see where they lock in place there. Move the waist forward like so. You take this piece here, and then just move this. Now there's a double hinge joint here, so you don't want to just move it like that. You're actually going to want to move it all the way around so it forms the bottom part of the nose of the cab. And then you want to put the arms out, spin the top of the cab all the way around so the windows are facing forward like so. You take the head, move the head down. This flap covers the head. And then the arms kind of do what every other Prime does. You want to move them at the elbow on either side, all the way back. This part goes in here. Now, despite this hole right here, there is no place, these really tight joints, no place to actually peg that onto. But what there is under here is there's these two pegs. See if you can get in there and see that right there. These two pegs right there, and there's a hole right, and you can see it right here, right in the underside of his arm. And that's what you want to try to peg into. It's actually much more difficult to line up than it looks. You want to do that for both sides. Again, both of my arm joints are ridiculously tight, so this does make this process a little bit hard to maneuver around. without getting everything else out of whack. So you can see how much I'm struggling with this. So you want to get these pegs in those holes on either side, which I've only been able to actually successfully do one time. We're trying it now. Got one, not quite the other. But there he is, in his truck form. So in his truck form, this is how I put together. It's getting real close here so you can see the front grille. He does have that hinge, which isn't too obtrusive. I kind of wish it was a brighter silver, but painting it would just chip. So I understand why they didn't. I'm glad it's not red, because it would be way off if it was red or even placed in a location that was red. On the side here, you can see the gray piece, which that I wish was red. And you have this wheel here, the side here for the leg with no gas tank. The back, you do have a fifth wheel. See the smokestacks on the back with a gap in the back. Flap on the head, where the head goes. But overall, he rolls fairly decently. Now, you can place his gun back here, like so. So you can shoot behind him as he drives. Or the instructions say you can actually place his gun here, which I haven't been able to seem to. It says you can place it like that, but it looks like it goes, this little peg goes right in there. And you can place his gun just like that. I guess that's a cool little feature. As I knock everything around. That's a cool little feature. Knock that off, but doesn't say too well. So let's get into some comparisons in his vehicle mode. All right, getting into comparisons, we will start off with Earthrise Cliff Jumper. Mainly because I already had him transformed. So that's the size differences in him. As you can see, he's much smaller, as he should be. Here he is with Reveal the Shield Legends, which is the figure he shares the most with. So as you can see how they measure up together. He definitely has the cleaner of the two truck modes. Here he is next to Legends Class Scourge. And finally, world's smallest Optimus Prime. That's how they compare. So for just a few thoughts on this guy. So all in all, he's actually a fairly decent little Prime. He looks really good. If you're collecting Primes, stick him on the shelf. If you want to have a new size class, stick him there. I can't say he fits into the Siege trilogy line. I mean, he's kind of an offshoot. It's weird that they even put him in Kingdom. I just don't understand what they're going for with that same line. He's not really cohesive. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe it's a scale thing or something they haven't released yet, like a leader class, larger figure that will scale with Prime. I don't know where they're going with it. I guess time will tell. But otherwise, he's a pretty cool little fine Prime. So if you see him in stores, pick him up. $10, not too bad. Hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. Hit the thumbs down vote button if you have to. Please subscribe. I'll see you guys next time for the next review.